Hello, friends, and welcome to this another chapter of interviewing skills. Today, we will have a look at another question, and this question is: are you a team player? So, before going into the nitty gritties of understanding this question, let us understand that how this question can be twisted in a different form and can be asked in a different manner. So, interviewer may not directly ask you that are you a team player. Instead of that, he may ask you, do you like working in a team? Are you better on a team or working by yourself? Tell me about a team project and your contribution. So these are the few ways in which he can ask you some questions in a different manner. So it is important for you to understand that why interviewer is asking these questions. Basically, the interviewer wants to know how well you will perform in a team environment. The reason behind it is that no individual can accomplish their jobs or tasks in an organization individually. They have to work in team, and when you will be placed in some department, or if you are placed in some department, then obviously you are in a team, right? So this is basically a close-ended question which can be answered in yes or no, right? But the interviewer will definitely probe further for more specification and more clarification. Now, from interviewer's point of view, this is a bit difficult question for him to probe, because almost everyone will answer yes to this question, and then they will try to back up it with the results or the team results that they have got. So one of the difficult aspect of interviewing is understanding what candidate has accomplished individually versus what candidate's team has accomplished. So it is a kind of question that will try to bring out your behavioral traits, right? So what the individual has achieved and what a team has achieved. So he will basically a good interviewer will basically probe into more specific roles. He will go into more interactions with the team and what contributions that you have made for achieving the results. So this is the main intention behind it. One of the best approach would be that give an example of how you have worked in a positive way with your team. If you are at a managerial level or say executive level, then this can take on a second dimension of managing team, right? For most, however, it should be focused on how they had interacted with their and communicated with their peers on team levels, and what was the result they have achieved because of their contribution. So whenever you answer this question, try to focus on challenges of team management, right? And more focus on should be interaction and communication, because every project, whatever you may be working on, right, will require continuous communication with your peers. So this is the best way to answer these questions. Keep yourself focus on interaction and communication at the peer level. And you can also interviewer may also ask about that how you have managed conflicts in your team or disagreements. So there are, for these kind of questions we are dealing with further, right? So here you can say focus on communication and interaction, right? So now if you see example, right? So if you are an experienced candidate, then how best to answer this question? So if somebody asks that are you a team player, so definitely your answer will be yes, right? And you can start with an example of this is my current team at XYZ company. where we all are working together with a variety of background and skills to produce a results which none of us who could have achieved individually. So it's important that we all communicate well with each other on continuous basis. Some of this takes place in our weekly status meeting where we gather together to update on the progress towards the goal. But I think the important aspect of is the ad hoc meetings that take place during between the weeks or between the different team members, right? So one of the we have means I have experienced that many of the problems which were urgent and important were discussed among the team members on the floor, and there the resolution was made, and we came up with very good results out of it. So you see the team building and team management, how to focus on team building and team management, right? So interaction becomes one of the important part. So conflict resolutions can also be taken into consideration if you have those kind of things. So always remember one thing, that you will have to prepare your answers well in advance, right? So it cannot be that you just go for interview and there you are asked and then suddenly you go blank for examples. So it would be rehearse well before going for interview. Now let us see, if you are an entry level candidate, then how you can put it up. So basically majority of the entry level people are not having that much exposure, right? So practical exposure is not there. So what you can talk about is that during your internships, right? And mind well, those students who have taken this course and those who are yet to go to internship, right? Always remember these things, that all these things you will have to focus on those internships, during those internship on these areas, right? So that you can get practical exposure and practical understanding of the teamwork. So if you are a student, then you can say, as an example of this was with my summer internship, right, where we all were working together with a variety of background and skills to produce results which none of us could have achieved individually. So it is important to know that note that I joined an already established team. So it was important for me to communicate with others and make sure I was on track. I was on track for delivering of my part of the project. And although my deliverables were quite small in the compared to the overall project, but there were several other teams which were dependent on my ability to deliver. So I had to continuously keep working and keep updating the team members about my progress, and I also worked closely with several team members throughout the week to make sure that I kept my portion of my project on track. So the end result is that I delivered on time and within budget. So entire project met the deadlines, and it was delivered successfully. So this is the way you can frame your answer. Examples can be quite different because I'm just giving you a broader framework how you can fit in that answer, right? And basically you can make it more specific. If you want, you can write it down, what are the incidents and what are the kind of issues that you had been facing during the teamwork. So you can highlight those things, so that will give you a more mature outlook for the interviewer. Next is that how not to answer this question. Now, in my experience, means I have seen many candidates who said that they were good team player, but ultimately when continuous probing was there and questions were asked into much detail and deeper manner, it was found that they were more egoistic and they tried to do work by themselves and not managing a team better. So here the whole contention or the whole concern is that many times people give a negative outlook towards this team building. Means they start with a question, they start with an answer that yes, I am a good team player, but then ultimately when you start probing it, you find it that he was the only person, and because of him the entire team left the job or left the project, or they were not ready and there were several conflicts, and ultimately the delivery of the project was not on time. So avoid these kind of approaches towards answering these questions. So friends, this brings us to end of this one chapter of interviewing skills. So we have seen, are you a good team? Are you a team player? So we have seen how different way it can be asked, and how you should basically approach it. So I would suggest only one thing, that you practice this question, write it in your notebook, rehearse with your friends, and do some mock sessions, which will help you to get a good grip at the time of interview. Because it should not happen that when you are asked these questions, you have done it, but then you may go blank, you may not remember the examples. So avoid these kind of things. Thank you very much for patiently listening to this chapter. Goodbye.